it's Erin, and I was going to fluff all my pillows before I started recording, and then I thought, you know what, this is what life looks like at the moment, so I'm just gonna leave it. We're just gonna chat. It's been 2 weeks today since I've had the baby, and I realized that in my birth vlog I actually never announced his name, so let me share his name with you right now. So yes, his name is Cade Gray. I am in love with his name so much. It's my absolute favorite. Jason and I both loved Cade and we loved Gray separately and well, together as well, but we loved them both and couldn't choose which one we wanted to make his first name. So we decided to use both, and we just liked Cade a little bit more than we liked Gray. So that is his first name, so Cade, and he is such a good baby. So this vlog today is just a chatty vlog. I haven't taken notes. I didn't write anything down. That's probably a bad thing because I'm probably gonna ramble. But I'll just chat a little bit about him, I'll chat a little bit about me, and just fill you all in on where we're at. So if you watched our labor and delivery vlog, you'll know that he was born 2 Saturdays ago, so he's 2 weeks old today. He was born at 4:13 p.m., weighed 8 pounds, 4 ounces, and my delivery was fast and furious if you watch that vlog. So basically, I went in to get induced at, we were in the hospital by about 10 o'clock, but they didn't break my water until closer to noon, so at about 11:45. And nothing really happened at first, so there was like a 2-hour period where we were kind of waiting and seeing what was going to happen and see if my contractions would start on their own. They didn't, so they decided to do a Pitocin drip. For context, for anyone who might be new to my channel, I have a blood clotting disorder, so I needed to be medically induced just to shorten the window between the time that I was taking my blood thinners. And yeah, so they started the Pitocin drip, and they started that at 2 o'clock, and he was born at 4:13. So I labored pretty quickly between 2 and 4, and then at 4 o'clock I started pushing. I think it was 4:05, and then 4:13 he was born. So it was very, very fast. It was very intense. It was very surreal. I had no intentions of actually going in to do it without drugs. I had an epidural for my daughter, and I was like, you know, it was lovely. But we just kind of got into the process, and the next thing I knew, it was time to push, and had to push. So if you haven't watched that video, definitely go watch it. It's a little intense. I would say that definitely show a vulnerable side, because I was very much in the mindset of like, holy cow, I can't do this towards the end. And obviously I did, he's here. But yeah, it was very intense. So since then, so the last 2 weeks, obviously, as if you have had a baby before, you'll know the postpartum period is filled with ups and downs. It's a roller coaster of emotions. It's a roller coaster of experiences. There's a lot going on, and at the same time, not a lot going on, if that makes sense. So there's a lot going on, like emotionally, mentally, systems, you know, routines are just completely uprooted. But at the same time, the baby sleeps a lot. At least he does, thankfully, knock on wood. So there's also all this downtime and this time where it's like, okay, should I be doing something or should I rest? Or, you know, there's a lot of time like that. So Jason is off with me for 8 weeks, which is so incredible. I can't tell you how much I'm just loving having this time with the 3 of us for the most part. My daughter obviously is here too, but she's in school full time. So during the day, it's just the 3 of us. And then, you know, she comes home after school and she is just so amazing with him. She loves him. She dotes on him. She scoop him up. She puts him on her chest. She sits there like that for hours with him. Like it's honestly so sweet. So, yeah, so we're just really enjoying the time, as a family of four, but also just the time that we have with the three of us during the day when it's quiet and a little, it's a little routine, it's a little mundane, but at the same time, it's just so nice to be a little bit slower and really just enjoy that time. So we brought him home the very next day. So he was born on Saturday. We were home by 7 p.m. on the Sunday. Coming home that first night was like the most chaotic night. So I think like we had this vision where we were like, okay, let's bring him home. We'll have an evening. We'll hang out. We'll bring him to bed, put him in his bassinet. Everything will be great. Like he'll sleep. And that's not how it went. So the first night, and like not to mention the fact that you just don't have your systems in place yet. So yes, I had done a lot of prep work and I had a lot of different things kind of in place. I had different changing stations and stuff like that. It's just like the little things that I forgot. It's been 10 years since I had my daughter. Just like the little things that I forgot. So, like burp cloths and having, diapers where we need them and things like that. So the first night was like a little chaotic and it was a little like, whoa, okay. We quickly realized like some of the areas where we needed to sort of fix some things. And that first night, he cried a lot. Like it was just, my milk hadn't come in yet. He also had jaundice when he was in the hospital, and obviously when we left the hospital, he still had it, but they weren't concerned about it. Like it was just like a little bit of jaundice, and so it was something we needed to monitor. But of course, the way you get rid of it is volume of liquid, and my milk hadn't come in, so we were trying to do that, and like I was just putting so much pressure on myself because I was like, I need to get volume into this kid, but all I have is colostrum right now and there's not a lot of it. Of course, breastfeeding in the beginning sucks. I don't care who you are. It's not very fun. In the early part of breastfeeding, at least for me, when they're so tiny and their mouths are so small, getting a good latch is so hard. And of course your nipples aren't used to that. And so, you just deal with like the nipple pain, and everyone's telling you, well, it shouldn't hurt. And so when it does hurt, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? And like, there's just like a lack of support, without having to go and get it yourself. And so those first couple of days of breastfeeding are always my least favorite. It's the time when I just sort of like hold my breath through it. I know it'll get better, but at the same time, like those first few days, especially with all the pressure of everything else you're feeling, it's just a lot. So definitely went through some emotions around that. And because of his jaundice, we had to go back to the hospital every single day for 3 days after. That's when his jaundice ended up clearing. But still, it was a lot. So we had to, every morning would pack him up, go to the hospital. They would do blood work on him. They would check his levels. And then I was meeting with like a lactation consultant at the hospital, just to make sure like the latch was good and stuff like that. And we did that for 4 days in a row. 4 days in a row. And then finally, 3 days, because finally on that day, which would have been his 4th day on earth, that's when my milk came in. So after my milk came in, things got a little easier. He was able to obviously drink more. That cleared out his jaundice really quickly. And by the time we went back to the hospital again, that had leveled out and he was great. So they discharged him from the jaundice clinic and said that, he doesn't need to come back. He's good. So that sort of was like a good step in the right direction. Day 3 for me, postpartum, is always the hardest. I always have the most amount of emotions. And it was on that day that we were in the hospital and they were talking about how if my milk doesn't come in, I'd have to supplement with formula, which I'm not anti-formula. I just only, have breastfed my daughter and really wanted to breastfeed Kate as well. So again, not anti-formula, it's just that's something I wanted to be able to do with Kate, because I had nursed my daughter till she was 2.5. So it was a very special relationship for me, and just something that I really enjoy doing after the early phase. I hate those early days. So anyway, so we were talking about having to potentially supplement with formula. It was day 3 of my postpartum period. I was just like a hormonal mess. I was like, oh my gosh, my milk's not coming in. What is wrong with me? The whole thing, lots of emotions. So got past all of that, and that was great when my milk came in, and then we went back, and his, jaundice was clearing. He also dropped a lot of weight as well because of the fact that my milk hadn't come in, and he was starting to climb back up on his weight. So there was just lots of good positive things that kind of happened in those around day 4, day 4, day 5. But those first couple of days were definitely, I was an emotional wreck. There was no way I was recording a 1-week vlog or any sort of updates in that first week because it was just like, there was just a lot going on. Other than that, so like kind of, that was kind of his little journey. I, from a postpartum recovery perspective, I did end up tearing again this time, but it wasn't as severe as I had torn with Willow. And I think I tore along the same kind of pathway lines as I did with Willow. He did come really quickly and he has a massive head, just like Willow. So yeah, I ended up having some tearing, and she obviously stitched all that up when I was there, and so I'm dealing with a little bit of that. So I'll be dealing with that for the next, probably up until about 6 weeks. But the healing is going really well. So again, I'm on day 14 now, and I do feel much better. I do think the stitches are still there because I can feel them at times, but definitely way less sensitive, and my overall kind of swelling in that area has gone away, and I'm feeling like I can be a bit more mobile. We've been going on slightly longer walks, and that's been kind of nice. But I'm still taking it easy and I'm still resting because there's still lots going on. And what I am noticing though is like I have a lot of almost pain, but like along my abs, or where my abs were. I don't know, it's really weird to explain, but it feels like between my pelvic bone and then up into my abs, like it doesn't feel strong or like supported. So depending on how I step or try to stand or balance, I'm still not, I wouldn't say like completely solid in that way. So I'll be really excited when we get to a place where that is a thing. Because then I just won't have to feel like I'm like, not balancing as well. Some things that really helped for me in the postpartum healing process though, I got the Depends silhouette underwear this time. Those were amazing. So I found, I don't know why, but I found them better than pads because I found that the thinness of a pad, just the way it sat, was just too chafy on the stitches, whereas the Depends were much wider, and they just like, because it's a full underwear, I felt much more supported. So I wore those for probably the first like at least 8 days. Postpartum, I had, bleeding. I'm still bleeding a little bit now, 2 weeks out, but it is very sporadic. Like there are times when I'll go to the washroom and like I don't have any blood at all. And then there's times when I'll go and I've, kind of filled a pad. So it's sort of hit or miss right now. But the Depends silhouette pads or underwear were amazing. I loved those. I also Tux pads, and then I also got the Freedom Mom Witch Hazel longer pads. Like they're kind of like, they're like a Tux, but instead of being round, they're like long and thin. Those were awesome. I ran out of them really quickly, but highly recommend those. The Tux pads are good, but I find they shift a lot and they're tinier. So you kind of have to lay like 3 on a pad or however many. Whereas the Freedom Mom longer pads were just so nice. Like it was like the perfect amount, and it just like stretched out, and you can wear them even if you're bleeding because the bleeding goes through and everything is good. So those were really helpful. I also ended up getting hemorrhoids, which I've never had hemorrhoids in my life, but due to the pushing, I guess it's quite common that, if a woman is pushing, she can end up pushing hemorrhoids out. I don't know. I've never had them before. So I ended up with them though this time. And so I did get the Preparation H, they're like soothing wipes. I found those really helpful. And I also have like a cream, had a cream that I needed to use as well. Aside from that, those were kind of like the main products that I used. I also tried the Freedom Mom foam, which it's like a witch hazel foam. It was a bit, I'll be honest, I didn't love that. It was like a little weird and it kind of felt poppy, like crackly, if that makes sense. So I didn't love that. But it was, when I ran out of the Freedom Mom pads and I ran out of Tux at like almost the same time, and I obviously reordered more, but there was a period of time that's the only thing I had in the house, and so it was okay, but it just made everything feel a little like wet and also bubbly, like I don't know, not my favorite. So postpartum healing is going pretty well. I will show you my tummy. I guess I could do that now since we're talking about it. So here's where I'm at, like 14 days out. So not much of a stomach left. You can sort of see, like I do have a little bit of one. I'll turn this way, maybe it's a bit easier. So I still have like a little bit of a tummy, but it is slowly going away. It was obviously a lot bigger. I can't really suck in. This is what it looks like when I suck in. But I am already down 35 pounds, and I'm not the type to like really weigh myself or care about it or look at a scale or anything like that. I go based on feel, like how do I feel? How do my clothes fit? Like I'm that kind of a person. But I have been kind of just keeping track, just more from what's happening in my body perspective postpartum. And yeah, down 35 pounds. Some of the weird things I will tell you that happened to me postpartum that actually had me a little concerned, but it turns out that it's pretty normal. Except for like one thing, which I never really resolved, but it resolved on its own. Like, meaning I never really figured out what it was, but it resolved on its own. So the first thing is I had postpartum swelling like you wouldn't believe. I think I took a picture of my feet. If I did, I'll put it in the vlog. My swelling postpartum was so much worse than it was when I was pregnant, to the point that I actually was a little afraid. I couldn't bend my legs, like meaning like if I was to try to sit on the floor and fold laundry, let's say, like oftentimes I'll just bend my legs and like sit on my legs, if that makes sense. But I couldn't, like they were too tight and swollen. I couldn't wear any shoes at all. Even my Birkenstocks, which were the last thing I had that kind of fit, they were on the very last notch and they were still so tight. They would leave massive indents. If I crossed my legs for any length of time and then lifted my leg off, I would have an indent in my skin. So just tons of swelling, and I was really concerned about it because I just didn't experience that with Willow. And yeah, so that was really weird. It has completely resolved now though. I don't have any other swelling, which is really great. My feet are normal. I can't even believe it. I look at my feet and I'm like, there you are. Cause like, honestly, it was awful. I really hope I took a picture. So the postpartum swelling was a bit of a surprise. The other thing that was a bit of a surprise was that I couldn't take a deep breath. Now, when you Google that, shortness of breath postpartum, it's one of the like warning signs that they're like, alert, alert, like be aware that this is like a bad thing, right? Because like they're monitoring for things like blood clots, and with my blood clotting disorder, like, these are issues. But for me, it was really odd. It wasn't concerning. Like when I did it, it wasn't like I was like, oh my gosh, like I have shortness of breath or I can't breathe. It was just sort of like a catching of my breath, if that makes sense. Like I would try to breathe in deep and then it would kind of catch. And I think what it was, again, I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea, but I think what it was is because everything was still quite high and elevated and, a lot of pressure and things were moving, I think it was actually my diaphragm that was like a little weird. Either that or my ribs, but like I'm pretty sure it was my diaphragm. Because like as the swelling went away and then my tummy got flatter, I can do it now. Like I can take a deep breath, there's no problem at all. But like that was pretty terrifying because I just never felt like if I yawned even, my yawn would catch. I don't even know how to describe it other than it would kind of like just, yeah, catch and feel like I couldn't take a deep, full breath or a deep, full yawn. So that has resolved. It's gone away, thank God. I also had a really raspy voice after labor. That could have been because I was like grunting a little bit through my labor, but it was also a little strange. I don't know if that could potentially be related as well to the diaphragm stuff, but anyway, it's just some weird things. The other things, this is a little TMI, but like definitely lost control over my bladder and over like the ability to hold in gas. Yeah, both of those things for a few days gone. Like if I let it go to a point where I had to pee really, really bad, and I didn't get to the bathroom in time, like literally was thankful I was wearing Depends because it was so bad. Like it was just like I couldn't help it. Not like a full bladder release, but like, you know, a little. And so I was just like such a hot mess. In those first few days, I felt so bad and so terrible. Like I just felt, anyway, you don't feel sexy right after anyway, let alone all this other stuff that's happening. So that was kind of like a little weird. And I'm sure part of that has to do with it being my second baby as well. Like things are obviously already a little stretched out and like, yeah, that was made even worse. Both of those things have resolved as well already. So it's just 14 days out and those things are already gone too. Yeah, and like, I mean, the swelling, by the way, is like so much better that I can actually wear my ring again, which I'm super excited about. Also, my baby sounds like a goat. He's so sweet. Whenever he's like sleeping and anyway, he just sounds like a little baby goat and it's cute. I'll show you him in a second. Yeah, so other things, I mean, definitely the hormones, like day 3 and day 10 were the worst for me. Both of those days I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of sadness, a lot of emotions. I cried most of the day, got really mad at Jason for literally nothing. You know, it's just like, it is quite a wild ride right after. And yeah, so that's been fun. Breastfeeding, as I mentioned, it's getting better. It's gotten a lot better. We're kind of, you know, we're still at a place where his latch is still not the greatest. I did see a lactation consultant at a company here in Ottawa called Milkface. She was amazing. Go see Britt if you need help because honestly, she was great. And he was a perfect little nurser that day. Like we go in and I'm like, he's got all these like latch things and I don't know how to fix them. And, you know, even though I nursed my daughter till 2.5, I still knew that I was like, I need some support. I want to do this right. I want to get this right from the beginning. I don't want like sore cracked nipples. And he was a perfect nurser, like latched on beautifully, was just like, look at me. And I'm like, he doesn't do this every time. Like he's actually like, sometimes like baby birds my nipple where he's like angry at it, and does all kinds of other little things. So anyway, he was perfect that day. Which I was not surprised about because he was putting on a little show. But yeah, so other than that, things are getting a little bit better and a little easier. Like I think the first couple of days of bringing a newborn home is always the most like, whoa, there's a lot going on. You know, you're getting used to it all, but yeah, I feel like we're finally settling in, not to a routine, because I don't think we're going to have that for a long time, but into what I would call a rhythm. I also want to say I recommend the Huckleberry app. If you have a newborn and you're just bringing them home, or you are pregnant and you're about to have a baby, get the Huckleberry app. Honestly, this is not a sponsored post for them or anything like that. It's just been such a great app for us to track his sleeps and his diapers and his feeds. And it's honestly insane because like already just within 2 weeks, we can see these like, you know, kind of rhythms that he has where he cluster feeds at the same time 2 times a day, which I don't know if anyone else's babies do that, but oh my gosh, just it's intense. Get some water, get some snacks, get comfortable, and just be prepared to be under your baby. For Cade, it's like he has a morning period and then he's got a very long evening period of about 3 hours. So Huckleberry lets me see kind of all of that, lets me see the data. It's been really great. I'm sure I have so much more to share, but this video is already like super long. I can't see exactly how long it is. 24 minutes, okay. Too long to just listen to me ramble. So if you have specific questions, leave them below. I'm gonna quickly show you Cade because he's sleeping so sweetly right now in his bassinet. But if you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. I'm happy to answer them. I will try to do a regular update on Cade, you know, maybe once every week or 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm not going to promise anything right now. But yeah, I'll show you him and then I'll say goodbye. So this bassinet, by the way, is from Design Dua. He doesn't sleep in this at night, and he doesn't sleep with a blanket like this at night either. Don't come at me in the comments. But for attended naps during the day, he looks like this. So he's wrapped up in his halo, and he just looks so cozy. So he's also a little Houdini. He gets his hand out almost every single time. But he will sleep in this for, again, attended naps only. So please make sure you're noting that before you comment. And we watch him like a hawk when he sleeps. But yeah, this is the little burrito. At night, he sleeps in a halo bassinet next to our bed, only wrapped like this, and then he's on like a newborn insert right now. Anyway, I'll let you all go, but thanks so much for watching. Thanks for your support on the labor and delivery video, and we will see you soon. Say bye. Oh, yeah, you baby goated before I turned it off. Bye, YouTube.